Avoiding Mind Traps. Hello. Our brains are really amazing. Only, we don't always use them as well as we could. We get caught up in simple mind traps. Our brains, you see, want to move fast. And when they do, they can get careless. But we're going to show you how we can all benefit by knowing when to slow down our thinking. From the beginning, we humans learned to react quickly. When lions leapt out at us, we jumped out of the way. When mosquitoes hovered, we struck out. We still enjoy being fast off the mark, even if modern threats are different. It might be others trying to trick us, or that we trick ourselves and end up not thinking clearly and making the wrong decisions. But if we understand why our minds are easily tricked, we can make it harder to get caught by mind traps. Cognitive biases, or mind traps, were studied famously by Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman, who describes us as follows. We think fast and we think slow. In psychology, the fast thinking is known as System 1, while the slower thinking is System 2. Both are useful. Quick thinking can handle most situations, like eating, walking, noting that the weather is nice, feeling happy, saying hi to the neighbours. But we can run into problems with System 1 when we should have switched to the more analytical System 2. Belief and confirmation bias. We want to believe. System 1 wants the world to be familiar and simple. This says ABC, right? And this is 12, 13 and 14. But if we look closer, 13 and B use the same symbol. For System 1, it is difficult to discover this, and the number 12 leads us to C13, just as A leads to B, all to follow familiar patterns. We want to believe. We want everything to make sense. But this can be used by people who know that short stories where we fill in what we want to hear are effective in choice situations like voting or buying things. Stories don't have to be true. As long as they're simple and appealing, it's easy to believe them. Halo effect. The halo effect is described by psychologists as a kind of magical glow that appears to surround the ones we admire. They can be musicians or athletes who make statements about subjects they are not experts in. But the halo effect means that we want to agree with those we like, even if he or she doesn't know much about it at all. So if this person isn't actually knowledgeable, maybe we should be careful if we don't want to be tricked by the halo effect. This works in reverse too. If we dislike someone, we tend to dislike what they say, even if it's quite sensible. Anchoring. Anchoring is about indicating an initial number, for instance a price, that steers your attention towards that number or price. Anchoring affects what we think about prices. Let's say you're buying a bag and see that it's marked down from 1,500 Swedish crowns to 700. This seems like a good deal, but the 1,500 could just have been made up. An anchor that makes 700 appear to be a great deal. Online, you often see buy now icons. Stop and think. Could these numbers have something to do with anchoring? Access. As I've already said, our brains are amazing. But they don't retain a perfect copy of reality. We create our own sense of reality, using images we collect and save in our memory banks. We forget most of it, but dramatic images linger on. This can make it difficult for us to correctly assess risks. If we're swimming in the ocean in a warm climate, we may easily fear sharks. We've seen those images of sharks moving underwater many times. It's easy to access them in our minds and to scare ourselves. Pessimism. This trap is related to the previous one. In the same way that our brains don't reflect the world in a precise way, the news may not present things fairly and accurately. We are presented with terrible events on a daily basis. Positive developments don't get the same coverage. But could that be how we like it? Studies show that we retain bad news better. This may have been an advantage long ago, to always be prepared for the worst possible outcome. And that kept us safe. But we still react in the same old way to new information. So when we hear about terrorism, climate change and new diseases, it's easy to believe that everything is going downhill. Studies show that people believe that life on Earth has got worse. Those statistics show that child mortality is down, and literacy, life expectancy, and the standard of living are all on the rise. Conditions are getting better and better. Summary. We might not be able to remember all of these traps, but being aware of them and learning to pay attention will help us to slow down and switch to System 2 when we need to. In this way, we can use our versatile brain in the very best way and get better at thinking clearly.